Is it attractive? Is it inviting? Is it manly? Is it clumpy? Is it awkward? What is it about how you move that can either repel people or attract people? Is it over sexualized? Because you don't want that. You don't want to be all like doing the snake walking, and no, that's over sexualized. It's way too much.
Dedication, preservation, take a look inside, do your salvation, do every good work, it takes patience, like a butterfly, transformation.
What is up, guys? Sophie here, and I'm back with another video. If you are new to my channel, then don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. Don't forget to like this video, and don't forget to share if you care. And don't forget to check the description box because I always put a lot of stuff in there, including my book, also The Art of Seduction, which we're going to be talking about today. I must give a fair disclaimer about The Art of Seduction because The Art of Seduction is a good book. I do feel like there are a lot of information in terms of how to attract people and even relationships, men, and then there's even men that gives them tips on how to attract women. However, some of the advice in there is very toxic. So I think that if you get the book, take it for what it is versus this is toxic advice. And even though it may work, I probably shouldn't be doing it, which I'm going to get into what some of that is. What we're going to be talking about is the Siren from The Art of Seduction. It is often this ideal type of woman that men want, typically from a visual aspect. Now, I think that there are certain attraction aspects that you could take away from the Siren. And so first, we're going to get into what a Siren is according to The Art of Seduction.
The Siren is a female-based seducer. Sirens have an abundance of sexual energy and know how to use it. In today's world, men are secretly oppressed by the role they play. They always have to be responsible, in control, and rational. The Siren plays to a male's fantasy. She offers the male a total release from the constraints of the world and offers the male total pleasure.
All right, now that you kind of get exactly what the Siren is, I'm going to get into some tips about what will differentiate the Siren from just a regular person who is very overly sexual, right? Because there's a difference between, oh, I can attract people with being, sensual. And even as a Christian, I do believe you could be sensual. There's another thing between, oh, I'm going to attract a man by being overly and overtly sexual and letting everything hang out. A Siren does know how to use her sensuality, but she is not over sexual.
A highly sexual presence will do this quite well, but you must not resemble a courtesan or whore, whom the male may pursue only to quickly lose interest in her. Instead, the Siren is slightly elusive and distant, a fantasy come to life. You mustn't be the woman who gives the male sexual pleasure so easily. At times be distant.
She is also not overly promiscuous. She does stand out with her clothes and with her outfits, but she does not stand out in terms of more of my body parts stand out. She is more, and that is something that I fully preach all the way. You guys know that I say every time you step out of the house, at least try to look decent. No, you don't have to super dress up, but I believe that if you make something unique about yourself, that it can attract men depending on how you decorate yourself. I know that sounds crazy, but I feel like if this is your temple and you want to take care of your temple, then decorate it, honor it, make it look nice according to what makes you happy. And once you kind of feel comfortable, I believe, in the clothes that you're wearing, then you'll feel comfortable in your own skin. And once you feel comfortable in your own skin, I also believe that that is what helps attract men. So let's more so get into the Siren. So now that we talked about don't be overly sexual, so don't ever think that a Siren is like promiscuous or one night stands or anything like that. Even though a Siren says, okay, I am a woman and I am a sexual being, as most human beings are, it doesn't mean that you have to have sex. And that's also something that I agree with. I'm celibate, you guys know that. I don't think, even as a celibate person, I don't feel like you should, I'm not going to deny the fact that I'm a female. I'm not going to hide under a sack and feel like, oh, I have to close up everything because I'm not having sex and I have to deny the fact that I'm a sensual or a sexual being, which we are sexual beings. I feel like that's how we were made. So don't equate, my point is don't equate, sexual or having a sexual being or being okay with being a female or being okay with using femininity and sensuality with being sexual, because those are two different things. You do want to harness sensuality. You do want to harness understanding that you are a female and being feminine, but you don't want to harness, just being overly promiscuous and using that femininity just to like sleep with everybody, right? All right. So the pros of the Siren is that you can remember to have fun. I personally feel like you should be like this anyway. I think as a female, one of the things that if you really want to attract a man is that you have to know how to have fun. I said this in my video on the type of traits that either attract men or run men away. I will put both down in the description box. But basically what that means is that nobody wants to be around somebody too serious. Yes, there are times to be serious, but there's also times to have fun. There's also time to be sensual. And there's also times in which you can, you know, have fun. And as I said before, like one of the positive traits that I have when attracting men, or so they have told me, is having a sense of humor, knowing how to have fun. That really does speak volumes in terms of attracting a man. If you look wonderful and you're all feminine and beautiful and dressed up and you look great, you have a nasty attitude, is really not going to help attract other people, because you do have to have some type of light-hearted energy about you, as the Siren says. And ultimately, I do feel like that is a good just advice in general to attract people, you know what I'm saying? To get my point, I actually want to go into the case in point of Cleopatra. This is actually mentioned in the Art of Seduction. I'm going to link the original video down in the description box if you want to watch it, but this just goes to prove my point.
The Spectacular Siren. One night, while in a meeting, the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar received a gift from the Greeks. It was a rolled-up carpet, and when it was unrolled, Cleopatra was revealed. She had been hiding inside. She looked like the goddess Venus emerging from the waves. Everyone in the room was impressed. Cleopatra was in the prime of life. She had a delightful voice which could not fail to cast a spell over all who heard it. Caesar fell in love instantly. As the Roman emperor, Caesar had countless women at his feet trying to distract him from politics and warfare, but he always grew bored of them and went back to the things he was truly passionate about. Cleopatra was the exception. She told him how together they could revive the glory of Alexander the Great and rule the world like gods. Another time, she entertained him by dressing up as the goddess Isis. She kept him hooked precisely because she knew how to entertain him. At the same time, it was constant war between them. Whenever Caesar began taking her for granted, Cleopatra would turn cold, making him chase after her.
Okay, so now that you see, one thing that I definitely want to bring up in regards to Cleopatra that I feel proves my point time and time again is that Cleopatra was technically not considered the visually most attractive person.
Contrary to popular belief, Cleopatra wasn't particularly good looking. Beauty is overrated. It bores after some time. What made Cleopatra a successful seductress was her ability to constantly transform herself. She would change her makeup and her outfits daily, and she always looked larger than life, like some goddess.
However, she had men going to war over her. She had men fighting over her. She had men in and chasing her all of the time, even though she was not that attractive. Why was that the case? Because, like I said, it's that you have to have a personality, fun, sensuality, and something else about you. I said this in so many videos, I cannot name, that attraction really will take you so far. And I think that there are some men out there who really elevate or put a lot of precedence on attraction, because I think in some way men don't know what full attraction is, right? I know that sounds really crazy, but if you probably were to ask Mark Antony and Caesar about Cleopatra, they probably would have said that she was the most attractive person in the world because they were so addicted to her. But she made them attracted to her based on who she is on the whole package, like as far as I have a personality, I have a brain, I have a face, I'm into things, I have hobbies, and that's why they say, oh, she's so attractive. But visually speaking, she was not the most attractive, but the things that she added on to her is what made her attractive. And I feel like that is a classic Siren type of thing. As I always say in many of my videos, you know, have a hobby. And I'm going to leave my video down on how to meet men every day. But that's one thing that I say, like, even if you are out and about and you are able to start a conversation with a guy, if you don't have any interests or hobbies, and especially if you're not diverse in your knowledge and you don't have anything to talk to the man about, then it's really not going to go well. You know, you can look nice and all the other type of stuff to bring somebody in, but you also need to have the personality to back up the appearance that you're projecting. Another thing about the Siren is that it's a distraction and it plays into the fantasy. I actually agree with this. I think that too many couples tend to get bogged down. Like if we're together and we're supposed to have couple time, you get bogged down down by work and by everything else under the sun, and that kind of kills the romance. I believe that you should prioritize your time together with your man, and it should be an escape from everyday life in which you are not arguing and talking about everyday problems. There's nothing wrong with living in a fantasy and making everything seem like peaches and cream and being romantic, because really that, like, I feel like everybody, especially men, especially if they're a good man, like if they're a provider and they're doing right by you and they're really working hard, then I feel like providing that distraction does kind of feed into their ego a little bit by you being the fantasy and you providing the distraction and providing some type of romance, excitement, or ambiance, or whatever, however you decide to do this.
Caesar had tons of mistresses, but none could keep him for so long. What truly interested him was political intrigue, challenges of warfare, and Roman theater. Cleopatra hit on this, and many women were prettier than Cleopatra, but what set her apart from the rest was her ability to distract the man. Distraction is what a siren is based off. She exhibits the male fantasy, thus resulting in the male not focusing on the real world.
It does provide a distraction, and it also kind of shows them that you can be a positive and fun distraction away from their everyday problems, which I think is an important tool for most partners to have. Even if I have a man, I want to be able to come and talk to you after my hard day. I don't want you to talk to me more so about my hard day and make me think about how hard it was and how much it sucked. Like, I want you to kind of be a distraction to put me in a better mood or encourage me in some way. Move on. I'm talking a bit much in this video, getting a little long, y'all. We're not going to be sitting here forever. All right, so when we talk about the 3 things that really beef up the siren, it is the voice. If you watch a lot of hypergamy channels, you will hear them say the soft voice. I personally think that this is bad advice. I think it's weird. I'm sorry, but I do. I think if you naturally talk like that, then fine, but please don't adopt a baby voice or something to that effect in order to, you know, try to, because you feel like it's sensual. I think it comes across as very inauthentic, and even more so, I think that it will probably over sexualize you. I'm going to get into this, the illustrated drawing from Marilyn Monroe.
The sex siren. Marilyn Monroe was an orphan child who one day had to borrow a sweater from her friend. It was a couple of sizes small for her, so it was a little tight. She was only 13, but the sweater revealed she was quite developed for her age. Boys started to notice her a lot more. She finally discovered a way to get attention. She began to smile more, dress differently, and wear makeup. Obviously, this excited them even more. She was just learning. As she grew up, she kept a touch of innocence. It seemed that all she wanted was to be loved, just like a little girl longing to be protected. Through trial and error, Marilyn Monroe began to study seduction. She wanted to know what attracted men. She began to lower her voice, and this indeed attracted more men. She would spend hours putting on makeup to heighten her image. Even the way she walked was calculated.
Okay, so when we talk about Marilyn Monroe, I feel like Marilyn Monroe was a victim of being over-sexualized. And Marilyn Monroe actually changed her voice because she noticed that speaking in a baby, very deep, very slow, very sensual voice allowed men to be attracted to her. But attraction is not always the best thing if you don't have what it takes to carry it, because the fact is that Marilyn Monroe was married and divorced a lot, actually.
During one of her movies, her acting instructor talked to her and mentioned this: "You are a woman who gives off sex vibrations no matter what you are doing or thinking." The siren represents a powerful male fantasy of a highly sexual, supremely confident, alluring female offering endless pleasure and a bit of danger.
She had a lot of issues. She had a lot of troubles maintaining relationships, and she had a lot of codependency issues because internally she was kind of like a child. People saw her as an over-sexualized doll, but the doll became very needy and very this and very that. So what I'm saying is that, you know, don't think that speaking in a sensual voice is going to be the key to getting the man that you love. Because it's not, guys. You know, you can definitely do that because maybe it sounds sexy and it'll attract them to you, but I fear that doing that, they will no longer see you as a person, and like Marilyn Monroe, they'll just see you as an over-sexualized doll if that's what you're always putting into the forefront. A body adornment is another thing, which we kind of already talked about. Even in the case of Marilyn Monroe, when she wore that sweater, she particularly noticed that men paid attention to her. I always believe in dressing nice. I have already said that. I am not encouraging you to just wear something that is just too tight for you to breathe in, but I definitely will put some pictures up in me in some more fitted type of things. And as you can see, I do have a more curvy figure, but I do also try to wear things that are, visually appealing to my body type, and that is seen as something that is visually adorning. Even if you look at my hair, it is purple. A lot of people think that is weird, but when it comes to the siren, she typically stands out from, and that's just me, like I wasn't trying to be a siren, this is genuinely my personality. And we're going to get into some other type of art of seduction, archetypes, in case you don't feel comfortable doing this. But I do think that for everyone, there are like little tidbits that you can take in. So me, back to the purple hair. With sirens, they typically don't fall into the standardized thing when it comes to like fashion. They tend to be very fashion flamboyant because that is what helps them stick out. Cleopatra was another case of that. Notice that Cleopatra was more flamboyant in her style, and Marilyn Monroe was more overtly sexual. I think, and Cleopatra got more respect, and Marilyn Monroe got men fawning after her, but it wasn't like they respected her. Does that make sense? So what I'm trying to say is, yes, both of them use their appearance and their dress and their outfits to attract men, but they both use different type of outfits to attract men. Marilyn being more sensual and sexual and tighted and fitted, and even though Cleopatra stuff was kind of more sensual, they was probably dressing like that in Egypt back in the day. She was more extravagant. And so you have to know that if you want men to see you when you're dressing, just be mindful of, am I dressing overly sexual? And this is beyond the point of siren, and they're just gonna see me as like, someone to take home for the night, or, oh, is this nice and is tailored to my body, it's very feminine, but it's not going over the top, and it doesn't, like, men won't see me as being like just sex, if that makes sense. All right, moving on. In your movement and your demeanor, I probably have not talked about this enough on my channel, but it is something that I absolutely agree with. I think that women, if you are a woman, you need to take out your camera. This is an assignment for you. There is a camera on your phone. There is no excuse for you not to do this, and you need to actually film yourself walking. You need to set it up in your living room or wherever. You need to film yourself walking. You need to film yourself eating. You need to film yourself doing everyday things, because I can almost bet you that there are some people, some of you out there, that when you move, you can look very unappealing. I know that sounds harsh, but I'm your friend and I'm trying to help you. I know, case in point, I know one of my really good friends, when we were like walking somewhere, and I remember as she stepped in front of me to ask for something and she walked, I remember thinking, wow, she has the most unattractive walk ever. And I know that that sounds mean. I'm not intending to be, but it was just the truth. Like, I remember thinking like, wow, she has a very unattractive, unfeminine walk. Like, it was very clunky. She's moving like this. And so when you walk, that screams, you know what I mean? Like, it just screams awkward. It just screams anything but sensuality and femininity and attractiveness. Don't walk like that. So you do need to know how you walk. You do need to know how you eat. You do need to know your body languages. You do need to know how you come across, and if these things are inviting, if they're more attractive, if you're like this, hands crossed, mean face. All of those things do play a part in your movement and demeanor. And I can tell you that one time when I was in college, I literally walked by, and he ended up being this guy I was dating for like a minute. I ended up walking by him. That's how I met him. He didn't even see my face, but he turned around based on me walking, because I used to have a mad walk in heels, y'all. I don't wear them that much no more because y'all, I'm getting a little old, but I used to have a mad walk, I'm telling you. But I'm saying that these are the type of things that you could do naturally that show confidence. You walking with your head up and your shoulders back over this, that screams insecurity, that you need to pay attention to, that a siren has. So I feel like for your homework, I'm assigning y'all homework. What y'all need to do is really look at how you are walking. Is it attractive? Is it inviting? Is it manly? Is it clumpy? Is it awkward? What is it about how you move that can either repel people or attract people? Is it over sexualized? Because you don't want that. You don't want to be all like doing the snake walking, and no, that's over sexualized. It's way too much. Don't do that. But you need to know every single thing about your body movements and find an in-between medium, if that makes sense. Okay, so some things that I definitely agree about when it comes to the siren is that that you need to be more about looks, because that's specifically what the Siren says, and you know that I am all about that. Don't ever get it twisted. I don't care how much advice there's a lot of men YouTubers out here. I don't care how, and even some female YouTubers out here. I don't care how many people tell y'all this. This is false. Do not just rely on your looks and being pretty and think that's it.
From Cleopatra, we learned that it is not beauty that makes a siren, but rather a theatrical streak that allows a woman to embody a man's fantasy. A man grows bored with the woman, no matter how beautiful. He yearns for different pleasures and for adventure. All a woman needs to turn this around is to create the illusion that she offers such variety and adventure.
I actually have a video on how men rate women that is called a B-class female, which means that you have nothing going on with your head and you are all looks, and those women never win. So even if you feel like I want to take on the Siren persona and really embrace my sensuality, that's fine. Do it in a healthy way that is respectful and non-toxic. And also don't just be about your looks, but be about something else, because a man will quickly lose interest if you don't have anything intoxicating about yourself. Cleopatra was case in point, is that where they just was not letting her behind go. Marilyn, you know, when she talked to men, I don't think she was that deep, but that's also why she had trouble hanging on to men, you know, I think. All right, and so the things that I think that you should not do when it comes to a siren is, it says to hide your flaws, that sirens never show their flaws. I think that's a mistake.
Like both women, stand out from the rest. And once you're noticed, make men pursue you. Remember that a high sexual presence makes you desirable, but make sure you don't resemble some whore or the man will lose interest. Hint at something dangerous. Danger is a highly seductive quality. Keep men at a distance to inspire respect. They won't get to see your flaws and weaker qualities. Create fear by suddenly changing moods, keeping the man off balance, or occasionally intimidating him with capricious behavior.
I think in the case of Marilyn Monroe, part of her issue is that people viewed her as perfect, and therefore when she got with men, whenever she displayed anything outside of that imperfection, all of a sudden they had a problem with her, which is why it is important for you to never present yourself as perfect unless you can always maintain that image of perfection, which you probably can't, and ultimately it's going to cause some problems. I believe in being yourself and attracting somebody based on who you are. If you have flaws that you know would really just turn somebody off, like codependency, toxicity, or those type of things, then just heal them and get rid of them before you go trying to be a siren, because you don't want to be hiding all of these deep-rooted things and issues that you have that now when he finds out about that, he don't want to be with you anymore. So I don't believe in hiding flaws. And then the being distant, I kind of sort of agree with that, but not in the terms of playing games. I believe that you should be distant simply because you should be doing your own life. I don't believe that any man or any person have 100% access to your life all of the time, in terms of every time you're going to call and pick up the phone and all that stuff, unless they're related to you or somebody, right? Nobody has that access to you. So being distant is, there's no ring on my finger and I'm gonna do whatever it is that I want to do, and you don't have tabs on me. That's the way. Like, to me, if a man wants to have all access to you and have all contact you and spend every day with you and always talk to you, then that's called making you their wife. So unless you are that to them, do not give them all of your time, because then it gets old. You know what I'm saying? You get very old quickly, and also there's no incentive to move further with you if they feel like you are always accessible to them. Hope that makes sense. All right, guys, I definitely hope that you enjoy this. I'm thinking about doing a lot of these archetypes. I think that they're super fun. I would like to know if you guys liked it, what you guys thought. If you want to check out the Art of Seduction, I will put it down in the description box. I will talk to you guys another day, another time. Bye, y'all.
Not ready for the show to end? It doesn't have to. You can head over to my site where you can read hundreds of articles. And also you can feel free to shop my store where I have all of my products for sale. And last but not least, for even more video content, feel free to visit my YouTube channel where I talk about a wide array of content. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and until next time, stay blessed.
Like a butterfly, transformation.